Rejoin the game at turn 4. The US Marine Corps platoon on the left flank have had some success now, pushing across the river. They put 12 hits onto the Japanese roadblock, which is a mixed weapons platoon, killing one 20mm anti-tank gun and smoking off one of the medium machine guns. Main effect is coming out of the US stewards firing HE into the buildings, supported by the machine guns, and the infantry continue to push up. Mortars continue to suppress the rear of the position, whilst in the centre, American heavy machine gun platoon with the company HQ moves unchecked. Here on the right flank, the US platoon here came under sniper fire, was pinned, made a successful roll, unpinned, but has failed yet again to spot the Japanese sniper, who will engage as we now move in to turn 4 for the is event 3. This is the US anti-tank platoon with some bazookas in support. The challenge that the US have got is because of the terrain being very difficult going, they're unable to maneuver light guns through the difficult terrain, which means they've got to bring them up this road. The problem being that they currently still have the Japanese roadblock in place, and the US forces are now starting to get clogged up and backed up along. Well, over here on the right flank, fortunately for the Americans, they unpin, and the dog specialist unit spots the sniper. However, the US are still having difficulties with the terrain. Both the Amtraks are now bogged in, and now the US are going to have to do something to try and range in, smoke off, flank or flush out the enemy sniper. Now assaulting into the first Japanese defensive position, take no fire on the way in, and very quickly with a bayonet, Tommy gun and hand grenades clear away the Japanese defensive positions. Japanese are now retreating, half the unit killed, failing a motivation test, with the US now reorganizing on the position. Sees the American forces now consolidating, having seized the village and cleared the various roadblocks. The support weapons platoon of the Japanese in retreat. US forces in the centre have now effectively crossed the river. However, on the right flank, it's chaos. The sniper, whilst having been spotted, they failed to range in at all with any artillery, and they're still pinned. They took one casualty. Fortunately, the specialist SMT unit, the medic, was able to save them, but that has the reorganizing, and both the Amtraks are currently bogged down. So on the right flank, the US forces are going nowhere, held up by a single sniper for the last 3 rounds, and have taken one So turn 6 starts with the US forces consolidating in and around the village. However, unbeknown to them, they've now come under observation from one of the batteries on the right flank of the Japanese defensive position, which are some light guns back here. These are 75mm, more than capable of striking against them. In addition, they're also about to come into mortar range from a platoon of mortars just across the river. Over on the right flank, the US forces remain either pinned, bogged down, unable to get rid of the sniper, but in the center. So the Japanese play a battle deck card of effective fatigue. The AOP is now in the air pushing forward, and the armor and infantry come under fire. Fortunately for the Americans, no casualties, but clearly putting them under pressure on the left flank, making a decision to pull. The American platoon commander spotted, found it difficult ranging in, eventually did, but had no effect. The Americans thought of using their heavy machine gun platoon to flank the sniper. Fortunately from them, the Ural observation post took a skill test and unmasked a Japanese platoon dug in an amposition around the logging facility that was being used to shore up the defences. This has now put some serious pressure on the American centre and right flank. Meanwhile, over on the left flank, whilst the artillery didn't have any effect in terms of casualties, it has forced the US armour to withdraw back, causing a bottleneck onto the artillery anti-tank platoon that was hoping to come up. The US forces, because the Japanese played a battle deck card of tropical disease, still have one more round of fatigue left on them, where they cannot do a counter-attack and have to take a motivation test to try and move, which they failed. Means they'd like to take more incoming this round, although fortunately last round for them they took no casualties. On the Japanese side, the blocking platoon continues to fall back, although they're fatigued from disease and still have a pinned on them. The platoon sadly was unearthed early, otherwise it was in a perfect ambush position to knock out the heavy weapons platoon. But on the Japanese side, aerial support has been called in as Event 6, and they have a 0 with bombs inbound. In the Japanese turn 7 phase, we're going to see what the Japanese response will be to the unmasked ambush, the sniper position, and hopefully they'll score some hits, having pulled 6 ones last turn. Thanks for watching, and we're about a third of the way through the game as the Americans try and now push to seize this first platoon position from the Japanese.